Good morning friends, my name is Madhavi from Jain College of Engineering, Belagavi. Today we'll discuss on the metal forming process in the mechanical manufacturing process. The forming or metal forming is a process in which the desired shape and size of the component is obtained through plastic deformation of the metal. The term the plastic is used for the part of the behavior that result in permanent deformation of material without fracture. Plasticity is the opposite of elasticity. The component thus formed through the plastic deformation process better mechanical properties than those obtained by casting or machining. Since the component is formed to shape without removing any material from it, the wastage of the work material is either negligible or very small, and further the production rate in general is very high with the forming process. The whatever it is, the stress or maybe any force is applied to that plastic deformation, in that we consider as compressive stress and tensile and compressive type and shear stress. Usually the metal forming based is classified based on the force applied on the workpiece. In that we consider as direct compressive force, indirect compressive force, tensile type and bending process or shear force. In the first one is the direct compression one. In the direct compression one, here is just for example of the forging and rolling. In this type, the compressive force is applied to the surface of the workpiece metal, causing to flow right angles to the direction of the applied force. The forging and rolling are the examples of the direct compressive force. The both the rolling in this, once you apply the force, the application of force means the flow of force and the workpiece act as perpendicular to the each other in the direct force. But in indirect force, the indirect force in this type, the primary applied force to the workpiece is tensile in nature. Indirect compressive force developed due to the reaction of the workpiece with the die surface reach high value, resulting in plastic deformation of the work metal. The metal flow under the influence of combined stress rate, the compressive force being high in at least one of the principal direction. For example, wire drawing and deep drawing are the classification of indirect compressive type of process. So the first one is based on the application of force, and that the first one is direct, is means the both workpiece and the flow of the moment of the workpiece and the applied force is perpendicular to each other, and here it is in the indirect force is a thing, but it is workpiece is tensile in nature. In the indirect is not perpendicular to each other, direct and indirect. So the next one is the tensile type. In this process, in this type of process, in this type of metal forming part, again we have the direct tensile force is applied to the workpiece during the forming. For example, stretch forming process is falls under this category. It is called as tensile type. Here the similarly, okay, with the help of the die, whatever the metal or maybe any sheets it can be just cover on the die, and with the help of the stretching the metal takes the deformation or permanent deformation, or maybe it reach the plastic type of deformation. It's nothing we called as the tensile force. Due to tensile force, okay, we can get this type of force. The next one is the bending process. In this type of process, the bending movement of the sheet metal, sheet metal work, especially with the use of die and punch, this type of process is carried out. Okay, this is again here the based on the bending process, the bending force, the sheet get deforms and takes the required shape. Then shearing. In this process, the application of shear force is used to rupture the metals in the plane of shearing and blanking process is falls under this category. The both, for example, blanking and shearing comes under this part. This is a detailed classification of metal forming by subgroups. Here the metal forming, the first one compressive force, and these are the examples. The first one is rolling, open die forming, closed die forming, and indenting and then pushing through the die. And second one is combined tensile or compressive force and pulling and deep drawing, flange forming and springing and up building. The next in tensile forming, again these are the example for expanding and assessing and stretching, and the forming by bending, the bending with linear tool motion, with rotary tool motions. The forming by, that is jogging, twisting and blanking and winding part.